Hi, Shewapa. How are you guys doing today? Okay, we're looking at price legislation today. Um, Price legislation. We've done a video on this before, but then it was blurry, so I had to take it down. Did I even take it down? I think I just hid it somewhere. Okay, so fine. We are back here today. So what is price legislation? So in case you've been hearing about price legislation, whatever before, so it simply means the price control imposed by the government on goods and services to protect either the consumers or the producers. The price control imposed on goods and services either to protect the consumers or the producers. So price control is looking at okay, should the price have a cap, like a maximum price or something, or should the price of the products have a minimum, like that's a minimum price or whatever. So price legislation is same as price control, right? And then it's divided into two. We have two types. We have the maximum price legislation and the minimum price legislation, or what you call the maximum price control and the minimum price control. Now, from the word maximum, so maximum is like a cap, right? So, like putting a cap on something, like the limits, putting the highest limit on something. So, maximum price control is also known as a price ceiling. Ceiling, like a ceiling is going to tell you, okay, if you're going to see the sky or not. So, and then a ceiling is like a limiting factor, like something like a boundary, as an upper boundary or kind of something like that. Then a minimum price control is looking at a price floor, like where the price should start from. So as you're standing or sitting wherever you are, except you're on your bed or something, right? Your feet is probably touching the floor, or maybe where you're sitting on a resting is probably touching the floor. So that is talking about the price that something must start from. That's the price floor. Again, price ceiling is looking at the highest, like putting a cap on the price, right? So that's maximum price control or legislation, right? And the minimum price is talking about where the price of a product should start from, right? So, like, why do the government impose these things? And then, who exactly are they trying to protect? And then, what are the possible consequences of these things? Now, left to the free market economy, from what you must have learned in your 10 principles of economics, you have it that markets are usually a good way to organize economic activities, right? And then in the markets, this is the demand curve, this is the supply curve. When you leave the market to work on its own, the market clears, right? And I've said that before that what that means is that demand is equal to supply, there is no excess supply, and then there is no excess demand. So Q is this one might be 500, where this is in units, and this one might be the price here is in naira, and then this one is in maybe units or something, or maybe bags. Let's say it was rice, bags of rice, and then the price here is about 24,000 per bag. Yeah, or let me just call it 24k, 24k per bag. Okay, and then the government looks at this like this is the market. This is what's happening to the market. The government looks at this and it's like, okay, let me even change this. So I'm trying to like come from somewhere. Okay, let's change this like what we have now in Nigeria about 75k. So a bag of rice is about 75,000, and then in the market, based on the market forces, only 500 bags of rice are being sold. This can be monthly or something like that. And then the government looks at this and is like, oh, damn it, this price is too much for consumers to pay, right? So the government has to impose a price legislation. So do you think the price that the government is going to impose should be more than 75,000 or lower than 75,000 if the government is saying this price is too much for the consumers to pay? Okay, fine. It should be lower than 75,000 naira, right? Okay, now you are correct. So the next point is do you think that is a maximum price legislation or a minimum price legislation? Oh, I can hear you. Maximum. That's good. That's good. All right. So that's the maximum price legislation. So the government now says 75k is too much. Everybody in this market, every seller in this market must sell this product at 60,000. 60,000. 60,000 is just fine, right? So at 60,000, what is now happening due to that legislation? You trace this to the supply curve, you bring it down. The value you are going to be having here, because this is zero, is it going to be more than 500 or lower than 500? Lower. Oh wow, you understand graph. Cool. All right, so this is like 350 bags now. Now this same price, you trace it to the demand curve. Now, oh damn it, at that price, people are looking for about 800 bags. of rice. Okay, so this is an example of a maximum price legislation, which is the highest price that producers must sell their product in a given market. A maximum price legislation is the highest government imposed price that producers must sell a product in an economy. And then for that price to be binding, that is, for that price to be effective, that's what we mean by binding. The price must be below the equilibrium price. Because what we are saying is that this price in the market is not good enough for consumers. Consumers have been exploited. So for us, like impose a price that will protect the consumers now, that is to tell you that maximum price legislation is to protect the consumers, right? So we have to put it below, we have to set it below the current price that we said is not good enough. So don't be confused, like many students are used to, because it is maximum price legislation, you're like maximum. So when they ask you the question, you're like, is it going to be above equilibrium or below equilibrium? You're like, maximum, maximum, that should be high, above equilibrium. You're going to be wrong. It's set below equilibrium. For it to be binding, for it to be effective, it is set below the equilibrium, and its purpose is to protect the consumer. So those are things you should be noting, right? And it is also called a price ceiling. I've said it before. So what does this cause? If you look at it, demand, quantity demanded is equal to 800, quantity supplied is equal to 350. So there is demand that is more than supply. So 800 minus 350 equals 450 bags. So this is what we call excess demand. So a maximum price legislation causes excess demand. That's one of the implications. Because now at 60,000 naira, suppliers, from the law of demand and supply, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, and the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. So lower the price here, higher quantity demanded from this to this, and then the lower the price, the lower the quantity supplied. That's the law of supply. So suppliers are demotivated from supplying more, so they are supplying less into the market. Okay, so what are the other implications of a maximum price control? Okay, it leads to, this is obviously shortage. Excess demand is shortage. People want more than is being provided in the market. So it leads to excess demand or shortage. So don't be listing your point and then say it leads to excess demand, number two, it causes shortage. Two of them are the same point. Okay. And it leads to hoarding. Yeah, it might lead to hoarding. So because sellers are really not happy with this price, so instead of selling their product, they may just decide to hoard them. Okay, and then what is hoarding? Hoarding is storing of goods and services, right? But the issue here is that it is the storing of goods and services, you know, to create shortage in the market intentionally so that the price of the goods would be pushed higher for sellers to eventually sell and then make more profit. And so that's the difference between hoarding and storing. So for storing, you are just like keeping something for future use. The intention of storing is to preserve, right? It's not to cause artificial scarcity. But hoarding, the intention of hoarding is to create artificial scarcity in the market so the price of the products can be high, and then at that point, the products get sold and more profit is made. I say it can lead to hoarding. Then it can cause black market. Okay, black market is also same as parallel market, or I think hidden market also. Okay, shadow. Yeah. So black market, parallel market, shadow market, they are all the same thing. So when a maximum price legislation is imposed, suppliers are not happy, so they can decide to create, a black market. So what is a black market? Where goods and services that are scarce are made available but at higher prices, right? So instead of you to go to the filling station, for example, to queue for 4 hours before you can buy fuel as maybe 200 naira per liter, because the government has now forced them to be selling at 200 naira per liter. There's going to be a boy along your streets, a young man, right, who bought fuel more than what he needs. He could have just taken like 25 or 50 um, liter keg or gallon to the filling station, queue there, like maybe like the day before, then go to his own neighborhood and then start to sell to people at higher prices. So of course, those who cannot afford to like spend 4 hours queuing in the filling station to get fuel will go to him. And so like that's going to be encouraged seriously because it makes like it yields more profit, it yields more money. Okay. All right, so those are some of the things that happen. Now, the other one is a minimum price legislation. So, of course, if this is how a maximum price legislation works, then how does a minimum price legislation work? Again, every market, okay, initially is at equilibrium. Before anything happens, so there would have been the interaction of the market forces to like restore equilibrium. So you now have this. So this is like maybe a farm product. Okay. So we have like maybe like 1 million bushels of corn. So we are talking about I don't know, I think this is spelling bushels of corn or maybe maize or whatever. So the price here, so price in naira. So the price here is like maybe like 70 70 naira per bushel. So this is the demand curve and then this is the supply curve. The government now looks at this market and it's like, oh, after the stress that farmers go through, right? So this is what buyers are willing to like buy their product. So the sellers here are the suppliers of the farm product. So after the first of the man and supply have interacted together, so it is only 17 naira that they'll be able to sell a whole bushel of corn. Okay, and the government is like, no, no, this is not good enough. Right, this is not good enough. This does not really pay the suppliers. Does not pay the supplier. But that is what people are willing to like buy. Okay. And then because corn or whatever is perishable, so the suppliers don't really have market power. So if they say that they want to sell at 120 naira per bushel, for example, people can just go. Okay, I can come back next week because I'm sure that if no one also buys, this stuff will begin to rot. Okay, to begin to spoil. So you'll be forced to sell it to them maybe at 40 naira per bushel. And then the sellers also know that if they don't find a way of selling those products as early as possible, they'll be going to perish, right? And then they won't even be able to sell it at the price that the government is even considering as a low price. So they are forced to sell. They don't have any market power. Consumers have the upper hand. So the government is not like, I know, we want to protect the farmers. Okay, we want to protect the sellers. So what we want to do is that we don't like this price. This price is not fair on them. So there has to be a better price. So what they're now going to do is they will impose a minimum price legislation. So and that minimum, so if the government is saying 70 naira per bushel is not protecting sellers enough, right? So impose a minimum price legislation, it has to be more than the unfair price of the market at that particular period of time. So the government can now say, let's do this. Let's do this. So we are looking at 120 now. So 120 is now saying this is the minimum that a bushel of corn must be sold. Minimum. So anybody that wants to buy a bushel of corn, it is 120 and above, depending on your location or whatever. But you can't buy it less than 120 per bushel any time that you want to buy. Okay. And then you see it. What does it lead to? Because we trace this price to this is the demand curve. So we break it down here. What we have is the quantity demanded. Since this price was traced to the demand curve. So this is like this can fall to like 400,000 bushel. Let me just call it 400k bushel. And that's the quantity demanded now. And by the time you look at the quantity supplied, you trace the same price to the supply curve here. Quantity supplied is so this can be 1.6 million. Okay, so if suppliers are now so motivated to supply more because the government is now protecting them and then telling them that they've legally imposed it now that this is the price that they should sell their products at least. So a minimum price legislation is to protect the suppliers. It is set above the equilibrium, right? So now what does it cost? So if you look at it, quantity demanded from here, QD equals to 400,000, right? But QS equals to 1.6 million. So quantity supply is more than quantity demanded. So QS minus QD, right, is equal to 1.2 million. So you have 1.2 million bushels of corn there. So that's excess supply or surplus. So excess supply or surplus. So you have a minimum price legislation or a price floor like leading to excess supply. So at the end of the day, it causes wastage because agricultural products are what do you call it? Agricultural products are perishable, right? Like most of them, if not all of them. Talking about crops now. So you have excess supply. So at the end of the day, Sellers will be forced when they begin to see that they're having this a lot of excess out on them. They will be forced to begin to charge lower prices, right, for the product. So at the end of the day, what happens is that even this price will still fall back to 70 to the market clearing price. That was not the intention of the government, but by the time these people start seeing that, people are not buying what we are selling again, so they'll be forced to like start to reduce the price. So the policy ends up being defeated. Okay, I'm not sure it is in all cases, and I'm not sure it is that fast. But what we are just trying to say here is that okay, minimum price legislation is to protect suppliers. It is imposed above the equilibrium. It is also called a price floor, and then it leads to excess supply, right? And then it also causes wastage. Okay, or yeah, wastage. Yes, can cause wastage in the cases where the goods are perishable. Now, if you also look at the concept of minimum wage, minimum wage is actually to protect the supplier of labor, which is workers, right? You're looking at the workers, supplier of labor, right? So in that case, right, in that case, the government is saying don't pay them 70K. Like Nigeria, for example, at this point in time, the government is doing this. Oh, fantastic graph. Okay, so I don't know what the minimum is. So let's say maybe 5 billion labor hours. So let's say this is in hours. 5 billion labor hours. I don't know. Then looking at the entire nation, so the amount of hours that are being traded, in the markets, maybe on a monthly basis or something, and then this is like price in naira. If it was an examination, please write price in full, price in naira, then labor labor then in bracket hours. So in Nigeria now it is 30,000 naira, 30K, right? So the government is now talking about minimum wage, minimum wage, minimum wage. Of course, minimum wage is to protect the supply of labor. So this is like labor, this is labor demand. That's the one for firms, labor supply, the most for individuals, the one that's the labor hour that they are willing to supply. Okay. So at the end of the day, you'll be having, I think they are proposing, I think the last time they stopped at, was it 58K? Maybe 58K or something. I'm thinking they're trying to drag it into 60,000, right? But the NLC is fighting for 615. They've reduced it anyway to 400 or something. It is still reasonable. Okay, so what is this going to cost? Now, once the minimum wage has been increased, and every other wage for every employment in the country also has to increase. Okay, doctors earning maybe 150K a month. So if the minimum wage gets increased from 30K to 50K, then they will start like earning like 180,000. I saw like banker that is earning about 215 before may now start to earn about 260. So there's going to be like differences in the increment, but the point is that all wages in the economy in a same country, once the minimum wage has been increased, all wages in an economy must be increased, right? So it's not necessarily at the same rate. Okay, someone that's earning 1 million before, you can start paying the person 5 million, right? So maybe like 1.3, whatever, right? And someone that is earning 30K initially, now you have to be paying the person 58K, whether your driver, your cleaner, your nanny, whatever. So what's going to happen? Look at it now. Look at the labor demand curve. So businesses will start to demand fewer labor hours, like 3 billion labor hours. And then look at labor supply now. Once the minimum wage is okay, even me, if I was not willing to like work for like 12 hours before, can be motivated to start working for like 10 hours. If I was working for 8 hours before, 4 hours before, I start looking for opportunities that can make me work more because of course I can earn more now. So we'll be having about maybe 8 billion labor hours. So by the time we do 8 billion, which is labor supply minus 3 billion, so you're going to have an excess supply of labor of 5 billion labor hours. And what does that mean? Unemployment. That's what it means. Unemployment. So excess unemployment, but that's more unemployment. Okay. So initially there was no unemployment because the labor demand was equal to labor supply. But now there's going to be unemployment. Some businesses will not be able to cope. Some will go capital intensive, right? Some would have to like lay off some of their workers. So if I have two workers now that I have to be paying 150, 150, I can lay off one guy, then add his tax to the tax of the other person and pay the other person 190. If he's cool, if he's happy that he's earning more, but he's working Oh my god, his work load now is crazy. But like, of course, is any more? Or I can just make it a 210 kind of a thing. Was any 150 before? But I'm gaining, right? I'm gaining because I'm meant to be paying you 150, 150, 300. But now I'm paying you 210, so I'm getting 90. So you may not be able to like cope with the job well, or maybe you may have to be putting in labor hours and your family is suffering, right? But then you just have to do it. You want more money, like do more work. So people can just start business can start doing that. You just sack some people, um, make some people to work overtime, or they begin to go capital intensive. Like if labor is getting more expensive in this country now, let's just begin to like invest in technology. Can AI really do what that guy is doing? It's okay. Let's start considering AI to do what it used to do. Right. So like that's it about price legislation. So if you have questions, of course, comment section is there for you. And then any other thing you want to let us know, if you want to comment us for our work, that's fine. Then if you want to register, if you want to be a member of Emoji School of Economics, okay, want to join the students, it's a virtual platform. This class and several other classes, right, are going to be the class that you're going to be attending. And we do several other things. We test you, brainstorm, do quiz, give you further explanation, set exams for you, just a normal school. Right. So if you're interested in that, of course, you can indicate in the comment section. You have to pay. Shall yeah, of course. So bye bye. See you next time.